course.
We play Django Style, original written by Django Reinhardt. And I think it's a song. It was one of the first songs on YouTube that somebody put it on YouTube, and I played it. I think in 2002 or 2004 at the Chet Atkins Festival in Nashville,
Yep.
and it helped me to get more famous all over the world. And so it has a special meaning to me also, and I love to play that tune. So,
Wonderful.
Django Style. That's it.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And you're here for the Chet Atkins convention here in
Yes,
town.
yes.
Yep. So when did you get to the United States?
I just came in on Wednesday, and on Sunday I go back home. It's just this time just for the Chet Atkins convention.
And you're from Germany. Where at in Germany?
I live in Mönchengladbach, a very famous town.
I'll try and not pronounce it.
Yeah, Mönchengladbach. You know, Tommy Emmanuel is able to tell it to the people because he visited me there once, and you know, he was so fascinated about the name Mönchengladbach that everybody telling, hey, this guy is from Mönchengladbach. And but it's very close to Düsseldorf, Cologne, that part of Germany.
Mm-hmm. Do you get over to the U.S. quite a bit during the year?
Yeah, I think the Chet Atkins Festival was the first festival I played or appeared in America. It was in 2002, and I played on some Django festivals. I was in Django in June. I think it was the first time that we met, I think in 2010. And then a guy called Aaron Walker, he has a group in Denver, Colorado. He contacted me and wants to do a whole tour, and that was the first time in 2012 that I toured a bit in America. I did also the New York Django festivals in Lincoln Center and Birdland, but the first tour that I really did was in September 2012, and there is another tour in September 2014. So if people are interested, they should
You're
have
gonna
a
be
look
back.
on the website.
Right.
There are already the dates for the tour in 2014.
You can check out Joscho's website. Fabian, our wonderful moderator, can put that link up to you. Joscho, Joscho dash Stephan, Stephan, .de
Or .com.
or
You can-
.com or
use both.
.com. Fabian can put up the link for that, and you've got all kinds of great things over there at your website. How'd you get started playing? Did you come from a musical family?
Yeah, I think I always had a musical background, but let's say there were no professional performers in my family. But my father played guitar, my uncle played guitar. They did a lot of stuff. You know, we're talking about McCartney today, Paul McCartney, and you know, I grew up with stuff like this. You know, my father as a gypsy or a half gypsy, and my uncle, they never played Django stuff or things like this. They played the music of their youth. They played
Right.
like Beatles, Santana, stuff like this. So I grew up with that. And, you know, my mother always tells me when I was like 4 or 5 years old and they were rehearsing, you know, I was sitting there like 5 hours with, you know, just without crying or leaving or stuff like that, just watching the music. So I was fascinated when I was 4 or 5 years old
Yeah.
in music. And so I started with 6 years to learn guitar. I always wanted to be a drummer, but, you know, parents, you know. They said, "Oh, if we buy drums, you know, it's so loud, and you cannot
Yes.
play with." And so your father can play guitar; he can show you the first chords.
Yeah.
And so I started when I was 6 years old. So let's say with the first chords, Beatles stuff, things like that. And let's say after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, my father showed me his whole repertoire. And he said, "Okay, I have to do something with my son because there is talent, and I cannot help him." So,
Yes.
you know, just because he didn't know what to do, he sent me to the, let's say, to the local music school, and then I've learned some classical stuff.
So you studied classical.
Yeah, what was not really the thing that I want to do, but you know, when you're 6 years old or 7 years old, you don't know what will be your direction. Maybe it was a good thing for technical, especially for the left hand, to learn some technical stuff and classical music, but I just found out that something was missing there for me, and I think it was the improvisation part. That means I did this classical stuff until I was, let's say, 10 years, and then I started listening more to rock music, stuff like this, Carlos Santana, Gary Moore, Joe Satriani, stuff like that. I played this style, or tried to play that style, but I think it took me another 2-3 years until I discovered more jazzier stuff, George Benson, Wes Montgomery, and then I think with the age of 12 or 13, I first heard Django Reinhardt, and it was like a shock. I thought, what's that? And it was one of his most famous songs. It's Minor Swing, was the
Minor
first
Swing.
recording that I've heard. And what is funny, because I just had like a cassette. I think the younger people don't know what it is. But, you know, back then I had a tape deck, and you know, I put the cassette in, and you know, there was just like pop music, you know, like Chris Rea and Earth, Wind and Fire and stuff like this. And then something it happened, like it was like, so what is this? A very old recording, and then it starts with this. And I thought, oh, what's that? That sounds interesting. And then Django played a solo that blew me away when I was 13 years old, because it was so, let's say, not just because there are fast stuff, or you know, the whole thing was, for me, I thought, okay, this is the music that I love. It has everything that I like about music. There was this rhythm stuff, you know, virtuosity, but also dynamics and melody. Everything was inside, and that's what I really loved about this this tune. And I think it took me maybe another year, because I was afraid a bit of that kind of music, to learn this. But I think it took me maybe another year until I started to listen to the first Django records and try to find out what he's doing there.
And you probably, did you have any instruction in Gypsy swing?
No.
So you just kind of had to figure it out.
Yes, and I think that's if you see what possibilities you have today. You know, even if I'm with 35, still a young player, but just imagine what happened the last 20 years in technology.
Right.
That means, like I told you, there was let's say you had a tape deck, and you have to work with records, and it was much more complicated to slow down also stuff. You know, I had a track that I worked with 2 tape decks, and so that I can speed it down. But that means it's not like today. You have the same, let's say, the same key, and you can speed it. But back then it was like a different key, and the quality was really bad. It was like, you know, and I tried to find out what he's playing there to keep it a bit slower. And I did a lot of mistakes, you know. But to be honest, I think these mistakes are that's the good thing about the mistakes that you make if you do the work by yourself. They become your personal style.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think it's maybe a bit the problem today. I think it's good to learn all the stuff, and there is a lot of things that you can do today to learn different styles of music. But I think also you have to try to work on own ideas and on own techniques. You know, I'm able to play a lot of the stuff with different right-hand techniques. You know, a typical Django lick like this. That's how Django played it, but I can also do it with alternate. Because I just sit there hours and hours and tried different right-hand techniques to play that stuff and to find out what's the best way, or what sounds more like Django and what sounds different, you know.
Let's, wow, it's just so many questions in my head. We already have a couple of questions that are coming up here. HB Legacy is asking, he plays a classical guitar like a steel string. What kind of pick do you use for this?
This is a Django guitar, so that means it's not classical. That means it has steel strings on it. And I use a Wagen pick. These are from the Netherlands, and it's called Big City pick. So it's 2 millimeters, and I think his website is www.wagenpicks.com, something like this.
Hey, gang, I have that link. If you look underneath your Ustream window, I believe it's the kind of yellowish button that's all the way to the side. That'll get you to wagenpicks.com, and they are a little tricky to get here in the United States, but they are fantastic picks. And
look what he wrote. That's my problem. I don't make enough mistakes.
Yes. You need to make mistakes.
That's it.
That's true. That is so true. It's part of learning.
Yes.
Part of learning.
No, really.
You have to kind of learn the boundaries.
It's a part of learning. Or, you know, if we're talking about personal styles, if you just, I don't want to compare myself with people like that, but just listen to, let's say, somebody like B.B. King. He always says, "Oh, I wasn't able to play with a slide, so that's the reason why I built this strong technique with the left hand to get this sound of the guitar." And that's what I mean. That you have to work on some things, not just copying. Just try by yourself what is maybe your taste or how you can play it. If maybe the technique don't fit to your style, or maybe to what you're doing on the guitar. You know, just find a way how you can use this licks. Even if I do workshops, I tell people this is the correct, let's say, right hand and left hand technique. But even if you want to play it with alternate picking, it's still a good arpeggio, still a good lick that you can use, you know, because some people, you know, when they visit the workshop, they say, okay, I play since 30 years guitar and I don't want to change now the right-hand technique. It's so much work. And they say, okay, then leave the right-hand technique as it is. I just show you how you play it correct in the way Django Reinhardt did. But if you want to play it with your alternate picking technique, why not? It's still a good lick, or still a good arpeggio that you can use for another style, you know?
I know we're already going to have questions about your technique and kind of how you came up with some of the speeds, some of the just the speed things that you're able to do. How did you develop that? Did you start by doing that slow, or did you just...
that's it, because people often think I'm lying if I'm telling them. But I think the problem is, it's not that I play fast. I think I play fast and clean.
Yes, that's the difference.
You know, that's what I've heard all the years, that people after concerts, you know, they come and say, "Hey man, you play fast, but you play clean, and you still play with swing, and it's fluent and stuff like this." And I tell them, I think you need to have the 100% control about what you're doing, and you just get this control if everything is also here, you know? If we're talking about music and emotions, of course, you have to do music, let's say, with your soul, with your heart and stuff like this. But technique,
Yeah.
you don't do the technique with your heart and soul. That is something that you need to practice.
Yeah.
And that means, let's say, for example, if I play something like this, that's fast, but of course you cannot practice it like this. You must practice it like. And the people often think that, no, he's joking. He never. I always slowed
Yes.
it down, as you know. I think it's a good advice for people maybe to try with a metronome. I never did it with a metronome because I was, let's say, I had enough discipline to understand
Right.
at what tempo I'm able to play it or I'm not able to play it. So I'm just tried in the tempo where I'm able to do it, just to understand the idea, and then I speed the lick up,
Right.
let's say, in the next few weeks. And I think that's what people should do if they want to get faster, because the problem is if it's, you know, if the information is not clear here, you're not able to play. You play the lick clean, you know.
Right.
I must do. It's like, and then I can work on playing it. And what also is, I think, is an advice that I often give people if they want to practice, is to think in different partitions. That means it's the first part. Because you have this triplet thinking on that one. So this is the first part for me. Second part would be this. So that we have the third part. So the easiest part is the fourth part. Most people are very able to do this very fast, you know, because because you know that's how I see it. Because what I think, you know, a lot of the things that Django played is a lot of triplet thinking, and then you have this down up down, what we often talk about in gypsy swing. You know, the down up down technique. That means you play down up down on the E string. So and you stop with a down, but on the next string you start again with a down. So that's the thing. That's something special. Then we have down, up, down
Right.
on the G, and again down, up, down. But now, you know, a lot of people telling you the Django technique is like you start with a down, then you play alternate, on the next string you start with a down. But that's not the whole secret. I think on a lick like this, it has to do with the triplets, because what's happening on the D string is interesting. You have down, up, down, and another down. And I think this would be the beginning of the next triplet,
lick,
but he is not playing the next triplet. You know, that's I think that's also a way of thinking that Django often thinks in triplets. It's like, so that's the reason we have two downs after another on the D string. Otherwise, we have down, up, down, up. You know, and I think because we're talking already about really the technical stuff that you need to play this style. It's good to have these partitions. That's the one thing. You know, you can start here if you want to. Because another thing that people often ask me about practicing, how much hours you practice. And I tell them maybe when I was like, let's say 13, 14, 15 years old, I practice 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes a day. But to be honest, today with all this experience, I would say maybe 2 hours would be enough. You know, never you hear something like this, because people say, how more you practice, how better. But I always give this advice to people to say, just practice 1 hour, half hour every day.
Yes.
You know, that's more important than to practice. Let's say, okay, Sunday is my free day. I do 8 hours. But
Right.
if you don't practice from Monday to Saturday, you forgot already the next Sunday what you practice. So every day a half hour and concentrate. Practice, you know what I mean? And I think that's the problem. You can practice 5 hours. If you do too much mistakes also by practicing, that means, you know, if you just practice this, and you say, okay, I'm able to do this now, and maybe you just have problem with, let's say, from the B to the D string, so you can also start with the B string. Just because you don't play always this, you save time.
Yeah.
while you're practicing. It's the same if you learn a song. I think you know this also because Adrian is also a great player and also a great teacher. And I think he learned, like me, also a lot of the original Django stuff. And I think the problem that you often have if you practice something is that you always start at the beginning. Let's say you are able to play the first 20 bars. Then you continue always with the first bar. Because also, of course, it felt good if you I'm able to do this. But maybe the better advice would be to say, okay, I'm able to do the first 20, so continue with the following bars. You know what I mean? That can help you to save a lot of time, and then it's enough to just really concentrate on 1 hour, half hour, 2 hours a day. You don't need to practice 6 hours a day. If you really take care on the rules. Just practice slow, just maybe try to find out what are the partitions that you can practice in different parts. And of course, there are some secrets if you do something like gypsy swing. I tell the people today, if I do a workshop and workshop or online lessons, stuff like this, people don't pay me for the workshop. They pay me for the 20 years that I needed.
Yes.
To get all these informations, and they get them in 2 days, and that's it, because it took me years to understand all that stuff. I think the most important thing, since I do workshops, I'm getting better in teaching, of course, all the time. It's like, since I teach, like maybe let's say 5-10 years. Before that time, I was never really taking care of what I'm doing because I was able to do it. I don't ask myself why I play on E7 that lick, but people asking you why you're doing, and then you start to think and start to take care of what you're doing, and you try to check yourself out, And I think one of the most important things in gypsy swing is the rest stroke. That means, if you go to the let's say B string.
Talk about that.
So the rest stroke, so that you stay with the pick on the E string, while you.
Can we get a real tight shot of that?
Yeah, while you're hitting the B string, because it has, I think, 2 things happen now that's really important. The first is that you can get a better attack, because, you really hit hard the string, but you stay on the E. And the other thing is the movement from the hand is a bit smaller. That means you can also play faster, because there is not so much movement if you don't do the rest stroke. So this is one of the things in every workshop, in every lesson that I do. I think these things are really important to take care on, let's say, the rest stroke, That's sometimes much more important to watch your pick, that if it's really there on the string, than to take care on speed and stuff like this. This is something that is the next step, the next level. So the beginning is to practice slow, to get the left hand and the right hand, to get both right. And also, if you see Django Reinhardt played the whole stuff with 2 fingers. That means, I'm not a friend to tell people, okay, practice everything with 2 fingers. We have we can use all 4, so we should use all 4. But there are some things that you must take care of if you play something like this. So that's really important to move with the first finger from this position, from the 4th position, to the 5th position, because the rest of this lick or arpeggio, I think the main thing is the 5th fret. So often, if people just sitting in front of me and we're talking about this arpeggio, people play like this. What again, when we're talking about classical guitar, what I've learned earlier, in the classical way, that would be absolutely correct, because you don't change anything. But if you want to reach some speed, that's are the tricks, or the things that you need to understand gypsy swing. If you want to reach speed, it's better to have the first finger here. So that means just with this small movement, you can reach much more.
It's in a more comfortable position. Much stronger position. Gosh, so many great technique things we've already touched base on. Let's see, Colin Hill is asking, can you explain what you play out of while leading, like major scales mixed with color tones, or maybe playing out of the chords and substitutions? of those chords? I know you're doing a lot of arpeggios and stuff too, rather than
Yeah.
single notes, kind of scale runs, linear runs. You're doing a lot of arpeggios in there.
Maybe you do something like, every now and then you do something like a whole tone scale or the mini scale, stuff like this in Gypsy Swing. But mostly I think it's really that you play arpeggios or stuff that is based on the chords. Just today I had also at the Sheraton at the Cass convention, somebody asked me a few questions. And I just told, let's say if you have a song like All of Me, it starts with a C6. I think the main thing is just a regular C arpeggio, and then you see what Django add to this arpeggio. He would maybe take, so that means he adds stuff that belongs or that fits to this chord. He often uses the 9, major 7, and of course the 6. What is typical for gypsy guitars, that's what I found out. If you listen to the original Django recordings, you will never hear a major 7 chord. They mostly play a 6 or 6/9 chord. That's more the sound for the something like this. So that's what they're using for the rhythm guitar. Or what if Django is improvising on a chord like this, he often is using the major 7. So that fits really good to this this chord. If we're talking now about more theory or something like this, I think Gypsy Swing is not really a music style where you must talk too much about theory, because it's more natural style. Like maybe said, I think you can compare it if somebody is showing you how to play flamenco, or let's say even finger style. I think it's not about theory so much, but you can find theory everywhere if you really want. If you really want to understand what you're doing. I think that's also back to this question. That's also what Django did. He played arpeggios, and we have some great solos. I think Rose Room is his tune where he's playing. And you always see that he's playing F here, and then back B flat. But it sounds so melodic. It's not. It don't sound like he's just playing arpeggios. He put them great together, and I think that's the secret of gypsy guitar. I think it's not a problem to buy a book with all the arpeggios, but the thing is, like in any other style, how to put them together, how find the right notes that belong in this arpeggios. And I think also this is something that you must learn, or maybe you can just, if you listen a lot to that style, you must get an ear for the right notes. Sometimes if you have students to play like, that's great, but this had nothing to do with gypsy swing. It's better to start on the 9. You need what he said about color and stuff like that. What is the color for that style? I think you can learn this. The best way to learn this is to learn a few original Django solos and stuff like this. Because if you check him out, that's always what I also tell the people. Django was a genius. That means sometimes he plays stuff and you don't understand why he's doing this, because he's a genius. But it's like 50-50. Like every other player in the world, like every guy that is not Django Reinhardt has his legs that he is repeating all the time. And also Django Reinhardt, even if he was a genius, he had some stuff that he's repeating all the time. And I think the most important thing is to find out about this stuff. That means if you learned the first 5 or 10 original Django songs, I think maybe it was the same for you. Then you see, okay, the connections. This thing he played already in All of Me. Okay, and this thing he played already in minor swing, and he played it on an A minor 6. Okay, and again he's using it on an A minor 6 chord. So then you get more, you understand more his taste, or what was his idea in that style.
Gosh, we've talked already solid for a half hour. Can you play something else?
Yeah. And I think we play one of my own compositions. It's homage to Django Reinhardt called Ballad for Django. Okay?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful,
much.
beautiful. Wow, what a wonderful transition. All right, we'll let you take a break just for a second
Yeah.
here while we cover a few things. As you have questions, go ahead and type them in, and our producer will put those up there. We're trying to get to as many of these questions as we can. just wanted to let's give away something. You had mentioned you had brought a couple of CDs, so let's give one of these away. Can you tell us about this one?
This is one. I did it for a company in Germany. What is funny because they asked me, they want to have it as a giveaway, and it's especially my trio who's playing. It's a studio recording, and I think it's not an official, so that's really could be something like a collector's item. I thought, yeah, because you cannot download this. The other one is Gypsy meets klezmer. That's a record we did in Germany with a klezmer clarinet player with Helmut Eisel. That means. We try to combine the styles a bit, gypsy swing and klezmer on the other side. But this one is something special that we did just, for somebody who said, okay, I need 1,000 CDs, and I had no problem with that.
Yes.
And I just, I just printed a few more because I think it's a great giveaway because that's really something special.
Yeah.
And we have some very famous gypsy swing tunes on that one.
Wow. Someone is about to win this, and we will have Joscho autograph this as well. The winner of this one is Jello Man Kent. Jello Man Kent, send us your information, Kent, at service@stevekrenz.com, mailing address and phone number, that sort of stuff. And we will have Joscho graciously sign this before we leave, and we will get that out to you. Wanted to tell you about a couple of things. We finished up last month's resources sale. You guys just ate up the Polytune tuner that we had. So we have finished up with that sale, and we haven't started this month's sale yet, but it's going to be, you guys really enjoyed the blues lessons that we offered, I don't know, back in March sometime. So this being Jazz Month, we thought we would offer the same resources, but in jazz. So be looking for that. That should be coming up in about a week, or actually next Tuesday for our next live lesson. That will be up and running for you as well. A couple of things I wanted to get to. We had a question. Aussie Muso is asking, what is the rhythm strum that is happening with as you're being accompanied? Now, I would ask Adrian, but we have a little bit of a technical difficulty. Adrian doesn't have a mic, so that's a little tricky. So if you could kind of explain the rhythm technique and maybe some of the chord shapes and
I think you have maybe. I think you cannot say there is just one technique to play it right, but I can just tell you how I would explain what we're doing there. That means. Normally, if you play the rhythm guitar, there's the swing manouche rhythm or let's say the La Pompe rhythm is. I tried to catch, let's say, 2 or 3 strings starting on the bass string. That means like this, and then you release directly with the left hand, so you mute directly. I think that's the main thing. That's it. And then you have a second stroke, and I tried to catch, let's say, the strings in the other
middle
register,
strings,
something like this. And also, again, you have to mute them. So that this is the basic thing. What sounds a bit mechanic at the moment, because I think what is missing is the swing feel, and I think the swing feel comes because after you do the second down, there is an upstroke. That you play while the strings are muted.
Still muted. Yeah.
And this gives you more the swing. This. So that was just a really short description of that stuff. It looks really easy. You can how to say, you can teach people this in 3 seconds. But to play the rhythm can take, let's say, a year, 2 years, until you are satisfied with the rhythm guitar. A lot of people are. I remember today it's maybe a bit better than 10 years ago, because the style is growing and growing, and people know already that the rhythm guitar is something serious. That if you want to play it good, you have to practice a lot. But 10 years ago, people were always like, "Oh, I can do the rhythm for you. It cannot be so hard." People were always laughing about the rhythm, but I think that's the main thing. It's not to
Yeah.
play solo guitar. The main thing is to have a good rhythm guitar player, somebody who's backing you up. And I'm glad that Edwin is here with me in the studio,
Yeah.
because it's not the style where you play a lot of solo guitar or solo concerts.
Right,
At least you need a, let's say, rhythm guitar player and the bass player to do that style really good. And you need a good rhythm guitar player. So to get the rhythm right, that can take a lot of time. Especially because you're asking also about the chord shapes or the chords that you use.
Yeah, yeah.
They're also a bit different than what you're using. Let's say if you do more bebop jazz or modern jazz or stuff like this, or different styles. So I think the minor 6 chord is something that really belongs to gypsy swing. And there are different ways you can play it like this, you can play it like this, or instead of moving, you can play it with the main note on the A string. You have a lot of you have 7 chords, you have 7 9 chords. If we talk about major chords, often you have 6 chords.
Six
This
chords.
the same, So that means I think you can play a 6 chord in different ways. You need to find the right shapes. Often they're really traditional. What is funny, if you have a open E and you play E6, it's like this. Everybody knows that, but it's so easy. What the gypsy players are doing often is just take this chord, let's see, for the position G, and it's like this. That means you're using the same chord that you use for the open position. You just have to mute the
outside
low and the
strings.
high
Yeah.
E string. So this is a very, I think, great sounding chord, because this sounds really like gypsy swing if you have something like this. And it's different than, you can also play it like this. But there is a difference.
Different
I think
in
that you
sound,
can really
yeah.
hear this to have the chords right.
I also noticed that your strumming hand is pretty loose. Your wrist is pretty flexible. It has
Yeah.
to kind of remain. You can't get too tight with it, or you kind of lose the groove.
Yeah, I think it's also because it's really important to play also with the wrist, not too much, from with the arm. A lot of players, if you have different styles, they really work hard, And I think if you see the real good gypsy guitar players, it for me, even if they play the fastest stuff, it never looks like they're working.
It's effortless.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're playing, and that's the thing. But it's maybe not just the gypsy guitar players. It's in every style. If somebody is really playing with a great technique, it always looks easy. You know what I mean? Even if he's playing the hardest stuff,
Yeah.
if you see a George Benson doing his stuff, or if you see rock guitar players, or if you see great gypsy players, it always looks, I think it must look simple or easy.
Right.
Otherwise, you do something wrong. If it looks like you're working hard, it sounds like you're working hard. Just to show you an example, the tremolo that Django often did, something like this. That sounds just good. Let's say how more you use to play it just from the wrist. If you try to play this out of the arm, then it sounds
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say.
Yeah.
It sounds like it looks, because it looks like work and it sounds like work. There's no swing and nothing inside.
Yeah.
If you play it like this. And especially if I see the tremolo that Django Reinhardt played, often you have to also think about the history of this player. So what was his influence, or
Yeah.
how he started? And Django played banjo. He started with the banjo, and I think this is a technique that he maybe just put on the guitar. He played it on the banjo. Like all the people back then in the 30s, 40s in traditional jazz music, and I think they are more used to doing this. So he just tried to use this banjo
Right.
technique for the guitar.
Right.
That's it.
Let's talk. We've had a couple of questions already about your guitars. They're obviously a little bit different from a standard dreadnought guitar. Kind of tell us about that. I've seen some with small. You guys have small holes.
Yes.
There's others with the big D hole and the big round.
I often play the D-hole version, but this time I just decided to bring the oval. You know, it's the oval hole, the D-hole version. I think, I don't know if I have everything right, but I think Adrian knows maybe the same story. There was a guy called Mario Macaferri back in the 30s. He was the guy who made this guitar, and I think he went to the Salmo company and they built it together. But he was like the constructor, the guy who, you know, and he was a classical guitar player. And I think he had an accident or something like this, so he wasn't able to play anymore, or, you know, not professional. And he tried to do different things. And so he thought he wants to build a guitar that is a bit different, but for classical players. That means, I think, I'm not sure, but I think I read also somewhere on the internet that he was one of the first who invented, or maybe the first who invented the cutaway, because he just want to give classical players, you know, more space to play in their things. Because if you see the head, it's more like a classical guitar. So this is like on the classical guitar. The cutaway was something new. Let's say this is something that he maybe took from the jazz guitars back then. So I think the whole guitar is a mixture of different types of guitars that were already available back then. And he took something of all the worlds, of all guitars that you know, that were available. And to be honest, I think if Django didn't pick this guitar up just by accident, or not just by accident, you know, maybe nobody would know. Nobody would know what is a gypsy swing guitar today. You know, I think if Django wouldn't have played this guitar, Selma have produced maybe 200 pieces of that, and nobody. I think today, if you have an original Selma, I think you pay like $30,000-$40,000. Let's say if Django didn't play it on that guitar, I think you will pay today maybe $100. You know what I mean? It just became famous because Django played these guitars, and later I think they first built the D-hole guitar, and I think the neck started, or let's say the corpus started on the 12th fret, and I think then they split it with Mario Macaferri. I don't know if they had, you know, fired something like this. I'm not sure, but then they just built this oval hole version, and I think then it starts on the corpus starts on the 14th fret.
So, how many frets does it have then? It goes up to 22?
I'm not sure. I never counted.
So I mean, you can't get 14, all the way up
16,
to a high
18, 20, 21.
21. Okay. Okay. So I didn't know if that was a 24 fret or anything like that.
No, I think the most players maybe they are not going behind the 17th, 18th, 20th fret. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you must play
Oregon
like this.
Coastman is asking, does Joscho play in different tunings?
No.
Yeah.
Because I play just a standard tuning for gypsy swing, and I don't know a player in that style who's. That's absolutely different than comparing to fingerstyle guitar. You know, they do that card and the different stuff. And we have a guy in Germany, Peter Finger. I don't know if maybe some of the people who are watching this have heard of him. He's in Germany. He's really big. He's Mr. Acoustic Guitar, I would say. And you know, I was on his record label for a few years, and he has a own acoustic guitar magazine, and he has a record label, put out a lot of wonderful stuff, acoustic guitar players, and he's a player by himself. And he told me once, he just plays an absolutely different tuning because he don't want to copy somebody, you know, it's a strange tuning that he's using. But what is funny, at the end, it still sounds like a guitar or like a guitar player, you know, even if you don't want to copy. On the other side, he just has, you know, it just looks different, but he's using also the same chords. So, but this style, what we are doing in gypsy swing, it's more like if you're doing jazz, you know, you have a lot of improvising on that in that style. So I just use the standard tuning.
Standard tuning on that. Joscho has a wonderful series of gypsy jazz instruction, kind of a gypsy jazz school, gypsy swing school. Tell us about that. What is the web address on that? That's one thing I didn't have.
Yeah, I think that is www, and then it's Gypsy Guitar Academy. I think just one long word. GypsyGuitarAcademy.com. And I think people can also find it on my website. I think it's linked or
Right.
on Facebook. You can find it, and or just put Joscho Stephan at Academy in Google. You will find it. And we started with. I had this idea very long, and I know that especially here in America, you have some different options to do things like this. But the problem for me was because different people asked me, and I was always interested in doing that. But I found the first thing that I found, if I do this academy, I want to do it, let's say, monthly updated.
Yeah.
So the problem was people offered me, of course, to do something in America and said, okay, we do just 4 lessons and then you fly back home. And and I thought the interest is not that high if you have just 4 lessons.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, people after, let's say, a half year, you need to produce new lessons and stuff like this, and you cannot go always to America and back just to do
Right,
these
right.
lessons. And I was lucky enough, because I had this idea also a long time ago to do it, but there were not no people who doing something like this in Germany. And then I was lucky enough that somebody called me, a friend and organizer that I know since a long time, let's say 2 years ago, something like this, said, we are just planning to do online lessons. We have the equipment, we have the stuff, we can edit anything for you, we can write the music for you, because I'm not, you know, like every gypsy guitar player, you know, I'm a player, but not somebody who's really writing
Right.
stuff or reading stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really good in let's say, in preparing the lessons by myself.
Yeah.
So what I'm teaching, that's really me. I teach the stuff and I just prepare everything for them. But you know, I'm not a guy who's writing it down
notating
with the
it,
with the
yeah.
right rhythmic stuff. And
Yeah.
I just play, as I said, listen to it, and you edit it for the
Right.
for the lesson. So
Right.
what we're doing is, like every month we have a new song online. That could be a Django standard, it could be an own composition, it could be a song from the jazz, it could be some famous tracks, some things that people want to learn. Sometimes we get some requests, and there's always I thought, you know, if you do something like this, you need to have a plan how to do it, and we do it always the same way every month. That means we're starting with the rhythm guitar. First of all, I show all the chords that we need, and you know, I really do it also slowly to say, okay, we have the first finger on the 2nd fret D string, and we have the, you know, we have the 2nd finger on the G string, on the low E on the 3rd fret, and you know, and this is a G6 chord, so that everybody really understands how to play this G6 chord. I tell them what strings they must mute, something like this. So this is mostly the first thing we're talking about the chords. Then we're talking about the rhythm guitar. So the same thing that I told you here, how to play the technique right. Then we have the next, let's say the next video where I present the melody, mostly a bit simple or easier. Then we have a basic solo. It's maybe a bit in between, because let's say the melody is easy. Then we have an advanced solo. In between we have a basic solo. Because I think it's also very important, if you want to do this online stuff, to take care of all the people who are interested, all the players, you know, not just thinking about the advanced players, but not also just think about the players who are beginners. So I think that was my idea.
Yeah.
Everybody should find something that is interesting for him
Right.
in this academy.
Right.
Some guys maybe just play the rhythm, others are saying, okay, I just try the melody to play it with the right technique. And then you have other guys, they switch maybe directly to the advanced lesson, want to say, I want to do the hard stuff. But to be honest, I think it's really important also to think in this style, to think about the beginners, people who just start to play that style. Because I think that maybe the most of the people who are visiting these sites or these online courses, of course, they are beginners and they're just starting with gypsy swing. And I think you need to take care. A lot of the players who are doing also online lessons, sometimes it's too hard stuff directly, because these few guys who are able to doing that hard stuff, they mostly don't need the online lessons. You know, they're satisfied with a YouTube video, because they can check it out by themselves. We have to think about the players who just start, who never played gypsy swing, who needs the information for the right hand, for the left hand. And so we have every month we have new songs online. And but if you, let's say, if you want to be a member, it's not like you just get 3 songs, you get the whole thing. So that's I think we have now 16, 17, 18 songs already online.
Yeah.
So a lot of work.
It's
If you're lucky, if you're in 3 months able to play everything.
it's a remarkable program. Check that out. GypsyGuitarAcademy.com, I
Yeah.
believe is what it is. Check it out. If you're interested in learning that style, I can't think of a better resource and a better group to be associated with and to learn from Joscho. As we're kind of landing this plane, we need to give away a couple of more things. I wanted to give away, this is a shirt from Benedetto. Do you know Benedetto guitars?
Yeah. Is it the shirt from Benedetto Guitars, or he wears it?
Howard, we're trying to get you on the show. The CEO of Benedetto, we were actually in contact the last couple of days trying to get him on next week's show. So weren't able to work it out, but we will get him next time he's in Nashville. Anyway, but we did get a shirt. So someone is about to win this fantastic Benedetto shirt that has all of the parts and kind of the whole schematic layout of a Benedetto. So if you want to make one, you can just check it out on the shirt. Anyway, the winner of this is Miguela Cruz 16. Miguela Cruz 16. You need to send me your information at service@stevekrenz.com, your mailing address, things like that. We will mail it out to you. Let's give away one more thing. This is Joscho's other CD.
Yeah, Gypsy meets the klezmer. That means it's a bit of combination of Gypsy swing and klezmer on the other side, but I think mostly Gypsy stuff, because there is some repertoire like Joseph or Old Classic by Mir Bist du schön, songs that always the Gypsy players played and also the klezmer players played, and we tried to bring these both styles together. And I think it's not so far away, because Django played, of course, often with violin, but of course during the war he did a lot of recordings with clarinet players, so you have this sound on that recording.
Yeah. And I noticed with the clarinet that you mentioned, clarinet, I was talking with Greg Voros earlier before we got out here, and Greg said that you actually know and have played with one of Greg's relatives who plays clarinet, and y'all just found that out, a minute ago when we were before we were going.
Yeah, of course. It was Joe Fritz. We played in Hungary. We played together, and you see how small the world is.
Very cool. Someone is about to win this. The winner of this is Rita Carr. Rita Carr, you've just won this. Send us your information, Rita, at service@stevekrenz.com, and we will get this out to you. Okay, well, let me give you some closing announcements, and then they're going to play us one more tune. All right. Our next live lesson is going to be, we're back on Tuesday. Thank you all for being here with us on our first Friday live lesson. We will be back on our normal time on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. next Tuesday, the 15th, and we'll be continuing in jazz. We're talking about building jazz chords for that lesson. We have a bunch of our lessons up on Gibson Skills House. That is one of the buttons underneath your Ustream window as well, kind of a white-looking button. That will get you to all the lessons that we do over at Gibson.com for Gibson Skills House. This week we've got up, I have several lessons up. One of them is getting the most from your strumming, how to do good strumming technique. We also have a blues lesson up there where I teach you a couple of good key blues licks. And then one of our better workouts, our power workouts, we're getting you familiar with all kinds of different ways to play, get familiar with the major scale patterns. Get those underneath your fingers. Then we have a great artist interview with our great friend from the Allman Brothers, Jack Pearson. That interview is up there as well. One of the other instructors is teaching some songs, and the song up for this week is The Red by Chevelle. So if you're interested in any of those, check that out over at Gibson Skills House. That would be your the white button underneath your Ustream window. Also check out right here at Gruen Guitars. That is the other button that's underneath your window. That'll get you to Gruen.com or even Guitars.com. That is all will get you here to this amazing, legendary store. Before we started tonight, we kind of got the secret behind-the-scenes tour of the legendary second floor of Gruen, and just some amazing instruments up there. Absolutely amazing instruments. Once you've played a guitar that costs more than your house, it just doesn't get any better than that. So there you go. All right, that's all for the announcements. What are you What are you going to play for us?
I think we do another Django classic. I think to end the show, and there's a song. It's a real simple song, and it's one of the songs that's also available on the Academy. Maybe that's a good thing. You know, it's called Minor Blues, and it's a Django Reinhardt, the original, and I think all the players in this style doing this tune. It's by the way, for everybody, it's in G minor.
G minor. G minor.
Django didn't play that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Joscho, thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
for
Steve.
being here with us. Adrian, amazing guitar playing. It's
Thank you
just
very
been
much.
such an inspiration to all of us. I hope you all have learned something tonight. We've had just a great show. Keep up the great work in your own playing. Keep persevering in it. Take these little nuggets that we talked about tonight and try and incorporate them into your own playing. Hey, we'll see you next Tuesday for our next live lesson. Have a great evening.